Struggling with scanning errors and peeling labels? Moving or reconfiguring your warehouse? Implementing a new WMS? The wrong labels can slow your operation down. Luckily, ID Label has durable, scannable barcode labels and signs built to last and keep your operation moving. Plus, if you need to get those labels installed, they've got it covered. Their expert team installs rack labels, overhead signs, floor striping, and more with precision, so your warehouse operations continue uninterrupted. I've installed tens of thousands of labels in my career, and I wish I had someone else do it for me. Get a free sample pack at idlabelinc.com, because when they do the barcodes, you can do more. That's idlabelinc.com for a free sample pack and more information.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by, well, I think somebody that's long overdue to be a full-on guest of the podcast. I think we talked about it a couple of times. We're finally making it happen here, but I'm going to be joined by Kashif Raza, and he is the founder and CEO of 3 Links Unified Commerce. And we're going to talk a little bit about what 3 Links is, how he kind of started the company, where it came from, and what it's all about. And we're also going to talk about his view on the 3PL space, fulfillment space right now, kind of what he's seeing out there. And you've probably seen him around, I would think, on LinkedIn or some other places. He's usually trying to acquire or buy some 3PLs or something like that. He's got his hands in all over the place. So we're going to learn a little bit about that today. So it's great to get you finally on the podcast, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. And you're right, long overdue. I'm glad we're finally talking.
Definitely, absolutely. And it's a pleasure to get you on. Definitely always appreciate your knowledge. We've had, multiple conversations that were not recorded, right? So so we know each other a little bit. But yeah, tell us a little bit for people maybe that are not familiar with 3 Links. What is 3 Links?
3 Links is a technology platform that was born out of a deep appreciation and respect for fulfillment operations.
Mm.
It's a company that sits in between e-commerce brands on the one hand and their 3PLs on the other.
Mm.
So we're in the reduce chaos business, very simply put. So
Okay.
we want to make sure that the brand side knows exactly what's going on with their 3PL, and we want to make sure that the 3PLs have the work properly set up in their inboxes each morning, so that when they come into work, we spend more time talking about, hey, how are you? How was your weekend? How did everything? How are the kids? Versus walking into a fire every morning and saying, oh my
Mm.
gosh, what are we going to do today? So I think tech can help with that, and that's the platform that we have built.
Interesting. Yeah. And I definitely appreciate that as someone that's walked into fires before in my career. And I think that's great. And and it's not only about like walking into the fire. I think there's also like, there's dread that ensues, right? Like as you're thinking about going into the warehouse or going into work, right? So tell us a little bit about like your background. Like, how did you come to found this company? How did you get involved in this side of the industry in this world?
Sure. So for those of your guests that are watching this on video, I'm originally Pakistani, and in our family, you're either a doctor, lawyer, or going to finance. So those are the acceptable career paths. Do not disappoint your parents. Well,
Yeah.
I went into finance for 2 years at Putnam Investments in Boston, but then I was at the right place at the right time, I guess. A friend was launching an e-commerce business, and he had a simple request. I wish someone could take care of this inventory and ship orders as I sell these things online, and I wish someone would just pack it and ship it out.
Mm.
And I happened to be there, and I raised my hand saying, "Sure, George, I'd be happy to help you." So the first warehouse was actually my parents' basement in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And we were underground 3PL, if you will, before we became an
Literally
above ground
underground. Yeah.
3PL. Literally underground and truly stealth, right?
Yeah.
But that's what started our journey into saying, all right, we'll be this outsourced function to receive goods, store them, and pick, pack, and ship them.
Mm,
And that led to our first foray into trying to develop our software. A lot of folks said, why are you doing this? Why don't you just buy an off-the-shelf
yeah.
WMS? That's the easy button. Everything would be okay. I was getting ready to go off to grad school at Columbia, so got my MBA and another master's, and then came back to Three Links because I just wanted to play with boxes, I guess.
Mm.
So Three Links was born to solve this operation problem, and it took until after COVID for my family and in-laws and everybody to understand what it was that I did. But I think I'm not disappointing my parents anymore. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, yeah. And,
Yeah.
thankfully they did support you and lend you their basement too. It sounds like to get started,
Absolutely.
which is
I
good.
actually forced my dad to come out of retirement and help me out for a couple of years. So yeah, they did a lot.
That's good. That's good. So you started out kind of pick and pack ship, right? Basically in the
Correct.
basement there underground, as you said.
Correct. Exactly.
And now, but you've evolved into to a tech company as well, right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that decision, because you mentioned there kind of people were asking you, well, why are you trying to build your own systems, your own software when this it kind of already exists in some capacity.
Correct.
So tell us about the decision there and how that kind of evolved.
Correct. So the decision wasn't an easy one. And if it wasn't for the frustration that I experienced from my WMS vendor and how long it took to implement changes and how expensive everything was, I probably wouldn't have gone down this path. But they made the problem big enough and worthwhile enough for me to solve so that I really got to a point where I said, I want to be able to serve my customers well. I want to be able to serve my team members, the internal ops functions really well. And I'd rather, be the one that gets yelled at for my mistakes.
Mm,
And if I have an opinion on how the operation should run, and that opinion is informed by the brands, that opinion is informed by the operations team, I want to actually listen to their feedback and give them the update faster than anybody else. And that came to define sort of how we operate is we listen during the day, we take that feedback, and we often work overnight and at least move the needle in the right direction the next day and making incremental changes. So I'll be the first to tell you I don't have all the answers.
mm.
I have a PhD in making mistakes, right? So all I am doing really is listening to both sides of the equation. What does the brand side need? What does the operations team need? So that they can have a successful day, they can have a stress-free day.
Mm,
So that's what led me to saying, okay, great, we're going to actually try to solve the problem ourselves. But also, I'm fairly stubborn in how I want the operations to run. And
mm.
again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but the SOPs must be followed.
Yeah.
And tech needs to support the operators, not the other way around. So our tech was actually born on the warehouse floor. We used it ourselves first. We made sure that our internal ops teams, the pickers, the packers, the managers, like everything, and the internal folks needed to be happy with it before we felt comfortable saying to anybody else that, yeah, I think you should use our WMS.
Mm,
So what's the saying? Never trust a doctor who doesn't take his own medicine, right? So we wanted to be
yeah.
the first testers. We wanted to build it ourselves, and I was asked to license it for a long time, but I resisted because I wanted to just make it perfect.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. And you said you got a PhD in mistakes. So you ended up
Oh yes,
becoming a doctor, right? So that was good, right?
exactly.
So,
Dr. Raza, finally.
so no, but I love that because I think that, learning, I mean, just in general, but like, especially in this industry, I think like you have to just try and you have to make mistakes sometimes to figure out what's the right way to do this. And it's a lot of kind of trial and error. So I love that you kind of
Exactly.
went down that path and you tried to figure it out and kind of hone it in really before you were like, okay, we can offer this to somebody else. So I'm
Exactly.
curious, tell us like, because you said you're pretty strict on the way you want your operations to run. You go by the SOP,
Mhm.
which is a good thing, definitely. But
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about coming from finance into when you started to scale operations now and bringing in employees and stuff. Like how did you figure out how to kind of navigate that and make sure that like these employees are sticking to these SOPs?
I listened a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest saving grace.
Mm,
I was lucky to have the right experienced folks around me who were opinionated and who genuinely cared about doing right by the customer. So our North Star was always to do right by the customer and work backwards from that and make sure that the teams and team members at all levels actually had the right information at the right point in time, and really try to treat the whole team as one. So if the pickers were picking a lot of orders on a particular day, the packers actually have visibility into what's coming down the pipeline to them.
Mm,
So whether it's camaraderie, whether it's watching out for making sure your day ends at a reasonable hour, the packers are actually talking to the pickers. If they were slammed, a lot of our team members, actually all of them were cross-trained, so packers could jump into picking and help their teammate. So we always viewed everything as a collective team mission versus, sorry, that's the inventory side that, or that's the picking side. I'm just in packing, so I'm going to wait for the orders to come through. We didn't never built the team like that. So it was everybody's problem.
mm,
So the ops team behaved as one, and tech was there to serve the ops team. That became the way we thought about it. And I was very lucky to have the right feedback flowing over to me. But my desk was literally on the warehouse floor.
mm.
So if anything was going wrong, all the team had to do was to turn left, and I was right there to
You're
be
right
yelled
there. Yeah.
at. So
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I mean, I think that's the way, if you're leading an ops team, I mean, you got to be there with them. You got to be on the floor.
you got to be there.
You got to feel the pulse, right, of the operation, so to speak. And I think
Absolutely.
that's, it's so important to do that. So I'm curious, so now, you started out with the operations and you said, you know what, I'm going to do the systems myself. I'm going to figure this out. Right.
Mhm.
And now,
Mhm.
the focus is the tech, right? So tell us a little bit about kind
Correct.
of that evolutionary part of the journey where you went from running the operations and building the tech to now offering the tech to other operations or other 3PLs.
So for a good 15-year period, we were using the tech ourselves, refining the SOPs, and we came to the realization that tech alone doesn't get the job done.
Mm,
SOPs alone don't get the job done. And even if you have those two things, you need the right values on the warehouse floor. And what I mean by that is a teammate is struggling, you have a lot of orders to pack. Does the picking team leave and clock out, or do they stay behind and help their teammate?
mm,
Does everybody chip in to help load the trucks? Do we greet the drivers when they come to the warehouse? Do we offer them something cold during the summer months? And do we offer them the use of the bathroom, right? It's the courtesy, it's the way you conduct yourself. So I've always believed that these three links, and that's actually the second definition of three links, tech, SOPs, and values have to flow together
mm.
to really deliver the best experience. So even today, if you look at many 3PLs, are two 3PLs equal if they use the same WMS? I would argue no.
Yeah.
Are they the same if they're using the same WMS and generally following the same SOPs? I would still argue no, because there's that X factor of how do you feel when you walk into the building, right? And
Mm,
and I'm sure you've experienced this, that there's a warmth with which the team responds. There's a way that people talk to you. There's music playing in the background. These little things go into defining the culture of the operation, and that was very important to me. So we refined these values, the SOPs, and the tech, and sort of created this wonderful soup of these three things coming
yeah.
together. But then the inflection point came in about 2018, where we realized that to be a serious player in this space, we couldn't just be headquartered and based out of Allentown, Pennsylvania as a single location. We
Mm,
needed to have more hubs around the country.
okay.
One approach was raise a lot of money, go sign expensive leases, rack those buildings up,
Yeah.
and try to cut, crazy deals with prospects. And just because you have that burn rate,
Mm,
I chose a different approach, which was to find another fellow 3PL operator, someone who was exactly in my shoes, just not in Pennsylvania, but in a different market,
yeah.
and invite them to sit around the table with me and to try to break things again.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I was the lucky one in that regard because I was getting more people telling me how everything sucked and
Yeah.
what was broken, whether in the software, whether in the SOP,
Yeah.
or, and you had somebody that, uh, I always say owning a business is a lonely road. Being a 3PL owner is especially hard,
Mm,
right? You have labor pressures, you have rent pressures, you have, downward pricing pressure to win the business. It's a lot, a lot of work. But if you could sit alongside another 3PL owner and be able to speak to them candidly and openly and learn from each other and actually benchmark with each other, why did we receive something faster in Dallas and why was put away faster in Vegas, and
mm,
what, you create healthy competition, you create a way to learn from each other, and you create a way to grow together with a colleague, as opposed to what I often find in the industry is looking at each other with a bad intention, saying, "Oh, I'm going to undercut so and so by 5 cents, and I'm going to, it doesn't need to be as divisive. It really needs to be about people coming together and supporting each other.
Hmm.
So that's why, after perfecting the secret sauce in Pennsylvania, I opted to bring other 3PL owners around the table to sit with me
Hmm.
and look at the same problem and say, you know what, we need to actually think about doing it this way, and that helped everybody.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the way you look at it there is a great way to look at it. And I love that you said that, being a business owner in general, but especially like a 3PL owner is kind of lonely. And I was just talking to another 3PL like earlier this week, and she said the same thing. She's like, the only people that know like what I'm dealing with are like other 3PL owners, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
is like kind of this like, you don't really understand, right, unless you've gone through it or you're
Yeah,
going through it, right, on building the
exactly
business,
right.
figuring out the operations, dealing with the employee issues, all these different things, right, and trying to figure out just how to stay ahead and how to win too, right. And I think,
Exactly.
I'm curious what you see in the industry, because I think that the industry, even though like 3PL is competition essentially, right, but I still find that like
Hmm.
for the most part everybody seems to be very open to like helping each other or sharing or for the most part. What do you see?
I think folks are realizing that it's important to collaborate.
Mm,
But if you're a 3PL owner and you've worked really hard to cultivate a relationship, before you recommend that customer to use somebody else in a different market,
mm,
uh, you're going to think twice about it, right? Because if that recommendation, and that party that you're recommending doesn't do what they're supposed to do and breaks their promise, you look back
yeah.
and you risk losing that revenue. So in an industry that's always coming up with a question like, "Do you know a guy?" My answer
Yeah.
is, "I know the guy," right? And the reason why
Okay.
we say that is we know exactly who to recommend, because that person is our brother or sister in arms doing the same exact thing,
Mm,
running the same exact tech SOPs and values. And that gives us confidence in being able to say, "Oh, you need something in this market? Don't worry about it. We know exactly the right person." And the tech is designed in a way where a brand can launch in a market, and with 3 clicks, they can be live in a different warehouse.
yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And
So I see collaboration as a necessary point that has come up, especially post COVID. A lot of folks launched their 3PLs, and honestly, more of us need to talk to each other. More of us need to be there to support each other and share more stories, and just instill an idea of best practices in the industry.
mm,
Right. So 3PL pricing comparison remains a
yeah.
challenging ask for brands, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody's following the same template.
Yeah, definitely. And I
So.
think that's one thing that's interesting, definitely, is like the differentiating, not only in just the pricing itself, but like how 3PLs
Mhm.
price it, right? Because some are like, oh, it's
Yeah,
all in this, right? And then some people like to separate every little thing out, right? It's interesting
exactly.
to see. So now with three links, right? So you say three links unified commerce, right? And you say that
That's right.
you're bringing fulfillment, delivery, and returns together, which I'm guessing is the unified part.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about how that
Exactly.
works and why is it unified commerce? Why do you call it that?
Our technology was born on the warehouse floor, which means that we had a front row seat into seeing all the chaos that is entailed in us getting the orders and then actually executing upon that order all the way up to customers delivery, and the order arriving at the customer store. So think for a moment, you have got, so in a supply chain, you've got so many different points of failure, right? So you've got the integration to the sales channel, even something as simple as a Shopify integration or an Amazon integration, right? You've had solutions pop up just to solve that need. So, okay, so that's your first point of failure. The order arrives at the warehouse floor. Is it waived correctly? Are you recognizing that it's a single unit order, or is it a multi-item order, etc.? Those nuances matter. Is it a B2B order, a wholesale order? Is it a retail order with EDI? These are all different flavors of what's expected from the warehouse floor, right? So while we understand and appreciate that fulfillment, is concerned with getting the right information to the warehouse floor, the conversation doesn't end there.
Mm,
So I can tell you today, it takes less than 3 minutes for us to have an order, a single unit order, picked and packed and ready for pickup. But a lot of us have come to accept this. I call it the e-commerce abyss, where someone sends you a tracking number, Yet everybody's accepted that for 6 to 9 hours, it's in this black hole of the warehouse says it's shipped, but the carrier has not received it, and you're
Yeah, yeah,
supposed to just hang on and something will happen. I personally am not a big fan of that.
yeah.
So I view the world as these three pieces coming together where the customer and the brand should have real-time visibility into what's going on inside the four walls of the warehouse, from the warehouse to the customer's door, and then also from the customer's door back to the warehouse. That, in my mind, it completes the e-commerce execution circle, if you will.
Mm,
Do we have elements of order management, warehouse management, delivery management, or TMS? Yeah, there were too many MSs out there, right? So I
yeah.
just didn't want to be yet another one. So I liked FDR because it's named after my favorite president. It rolls easy off the term, and it
Okay.
highlights the three key pillars we view as our responsibility: fulfillment, delivery, and return. That is our business.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, yeah, and I love that. And I love that you described that that black hole of the package or the parcel, right? And it's kind of like, and
Correct.
I've called customer service before, and I'm like, the tracking says that label was created, and then they're like, oh yeah, well yeah,
Hmm.
it's shipped, so just give it some time to update. And I'm like, no, no, no. I worked in warehouses. I know what that means, right? I know it's still in that building
Yeah.
somewhere, or it hasn't even moved, right? So find out where it
The
is, right?
best is yeah, the best is when you get the tracking at 4:30 in the morning, and
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I know it's not going to be picked until much later in the day and won't be on the UPS truck until like 8:30 p.m. So
yeah,
and I think it's 2025, right? And still that's happening.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So I like that you're closing that black hole, so to speak, right? So
Exactly.
very interesting to learn about three links and kind of where you came from and how this idea came about and continues to evolve. So if we look at the 3PL market right now, and I think you're very much in touch with it. I see you're posting about it all the time on LinkedIn. You're looking to acquire or see what's out going on in the market. What are your thoughts on like the current 3PL market? What do you think is happening right now? What are some of the challenges? What do you think it's looking like? Is there consolidations happening? What are your thoughts?
I think the sector is under pressure.
Mm,
I think there are a lot of operators. I think it made a lot of sense to launch a fulfillment company. It was supply chain was in the news, and everybody thought that was the easy way to make money. So
yeah.
I have extra capacity, launch a 3PL. I can do X, Y, and Z, a couple of easy steps. Suddenly, I'm in business. I think there's going to be a lot of 3PLs going out of business, mostly because of expensive leases that are
Mm,
coming due, right? And just a high burn rate. I'm a big fan of studying different 3PLs from both from an acquisition perspective, but also as a potential family member that would join our network and talk to us. And I've been mostly unpleasantly surprised by the lack of systems and the lack of the infrastructure that's there. I think we have some headwinds ahead of us, and I think a lot of 3PLs are going to be going out of business because they haven't paid attention to the business fundamentals of making sure that you cover your fixed expenses, making sure you cover your variable expenses, and that see as a big concern. And technology costs haven't come down either. So with the again, if you're launching a 3PL today, you need a WMS. If you don't have that, you're not even going to be considered by the top players,
yeah.
right? What WMS do you use? Great. Okay, you just signed up for a WMS, but the guy right next door to you can sign up for the same exact WMS. Okay, so now what's your differentiator?
Mm,
Right? It's your people, it's your racking. Do you have a more beautiful shade of orange on your 8-foot beams? No,
yeah.
it's the same, right? So there's a commoditization that's happening in the industry as well. So the question really becomes, how are you going to differentiate your services? So my perspective on that is, if you have a warehouse with great people and racking, etc., you really should be getting about six different types of revenue streams from that operation.
Mm,
And if you're not, it's a limitation of your tech,
mm,
right? So do you do direct to consumer fulfillment? Great. Do you do Amazon Prep? Great. Do you do drop ship? Great. Wholesale? Great. Can you do a shipment via EDI? Yes. And like, do you do returns management? Great. So if you don't do all these things from the same building, you're leaving money on the table.
mm,
And if your tech isn't allowing you to do all six things and make money six different ways, then you don't have the right tech.
mm.
So 3PLs need to play defense right now, and I think they need to look at ways to diversify their revenue and get more from the same fixed cost that they have.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You work hard for your warehouse, but is your technology working as hard as you do? Don't you think your warehouse deserves that? Find that technology work ethic with the EPG One Unified Supply Chain Execution Suite that's built to arm warehouse leaders with tech that powers competitive edge. With modular solutions for WMS, WCS, TMS, workforce, doc, 3PL billing, control tower, and the number one voice picking solution named Lydia Voice, the EPG One suite gives you tech that works harder for your warehouse and the agility to help you scale with confidence and be built for what's next. Smarter, connected, and harder working logistics starts at epg.com. That's epg.com. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. And, it is pretty crowded market, like as you said, right? And I think, I see numbers thrown around all the time, like, there's 20,000 3PLs out there. I don't know what the real number is.
20,000, yeah.
Yeah. But but it's a lot, right? Because
more than 10,000 for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, there's there's people that are doing stuff out of like a couple of thousand square feet all the way up to a million square feet. So it's a broad spectrum, right? But to your point, what becomes your differentiator at the end of the day? And I think as supply chains evolve and these brands that just popped up as ideas and e-commerce side of things like a couple years ago are now getting a little more sophisticated, becoming like full on businesses, and bringing in ops or supply chain people, and they're going to be looking for like, what is that differentiator, what's like what's solid for the next couple years for me, and what can I bank on. And I think to your point, like
Exactly.
having the right tech, and having that thing that can support them in multiple different ways is going to be kind of the value winner there. So I'm curious to hear from you too, from like an acquisition standpoint, because I've seen you post a couple times about interesting ways that 3PL owners have like expense things, or they have like family on the payroll that actually doesn't work there, or I think I saw you say something about somebody expensing like a Range Rover or something at some point. Like, tell us.
That would be the simpler end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit like about that, and maybe some of your advice too for like 3PLs that want to be acquired at some point. Like, what's the right way to navigate some of these, and what's some of the crazy things you've seen out there?
Directly by the owner is hardly alarming, but when you have an ex-wife's brother working remotely, and still on the company payroll, and nobody can answer what Johnny does, and because they've never seen Johnny. These are
Yeah.
not far-fetched examples.
Mm,
I've seen 3PL owners basically using the company accounts as a personal piggy bank, and it's supporting
mm,
not just immediate family but extended family. So I take a very clear line on this. Is every resource going towards boosting top line, reducing expenses? That's why a business exists, is to take care of the customers, and is every person on the payroll supporting that mission or not?
mm,
And really, what is proprietary about their things? And much has been said about 3PLs that have built their own technology, and a lot of the traditional WMSs are saying, "Oh, why would you bother building it? Because you're either a 3PL or you're a WMS vendor. You can't really be both." And I can appreciate that perspective. Building great software is hard. It's a lot of work. So if you're a 3PL that has built the software, uh, great. But there comes an inflection point, as it did in our journey, where we have to decide whether we want to be a 3PL or whether
mm,
we want to be a tech platform. I just couldn't help myself. I need to have my hands in the operations, and I want to empower the 3PL operator to do what they need to do really well,
mm,
but also support the brand. But most importantly, I want to be able to react to changes. So as I look at the industry, I think consolidation is coming, right? You don't need 900 warehouses around the US.
mm,
Most brands are not keeping inventory beyond 1 to 2 warehouses, maybe 3. because inventory balancing becomes a full-time job, and a lot of folks without the right tools struggle with that.
Yeah.
So we envision a world where you have 5 hubs in the US, one in Canada, one in the UK, and one in Europe. That's what we envision. We have 3 of those in the US. We have one in Canada. So we're not only establishing those hubs, but one of the things that I've done is I've taken a lot of time to get at least a directory going of 3PLs that we know of. Right. So if I know that there's 35 different 3PLs in the Toronto market, at least I can be friendly with them, I can be polite with them, and I can collaborate with them when I need to grow.
Mm.
Right. So as I recently posted on LinkedIn, I'm looking to expand into the Canadian market, but I'm not the type of guy that thinks that I have all the answers or that I want to go it alone. I do want to create a community of 3PL owners where we feel like we can talk to each other. But I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Not every 3PL is right to join the family, right? So everybody says we're going to be honest and we're going to take care of you, we're going to issue credits. But when things happen, do you get the credit before anything else, or do you get emails and explanations and perhaps we will do better next time? But if they take care of the customer, that is paramount to me
Mm.
in identifying the right partners who will sit around the table. So I believe there are excellent operators that may have been limited in their growth because they didn't have the right tech, they had a very heavy burn rate, etc. But what I'm trying to do is if we show up in a market, we are inviting other 3PLs that are in the same market to co-locate with us. Don't renew your lease. Don't sign expensive leases because again, 2 to 3 guys that are doing 20, 30, 40, 50,000 square feet warehouses can actually get a better lease if 3 links as a family and as a platform negotiates that lease. So we're saving 3PLs on lease costs. We're saving them on labor costs with better software. We're saving them on shipping because we're negotiating those rates as a platform.
Mm.
But we're very much wanting to keep it in the family. So I see a lot of 3PLs that don't belong to a family going out of business and they need support. And from my standpoint as a platform, I need that local perspective. I don't know everything about every market.
Yeah.
So someone who's in the local market can inform our thinking and say, don't do this, but do that. Use this carrier, don't do that. So it's the best of both worlds, right? It's not unlike what if you own 10 different 3PLs? What would you centralize and what would you localize, right? You would not have 10 different accounting departments. You would still want to automate billing. You would want to centralize marketing, but you would still keep the operations very, very local and very responsive to the local market. So that's what we're trying to create, and that's what we're looking for in the right partners. Who has the right attitude towards serving the customer above all else? They're welcome in our family.
Mm. Interesting, interesting, and I like that you call it the family, right? I mean, it's a little
Yeah.
it's a little Godfather-esque, right? But at the same time, like I think it's
Oh, yes.
it's a great thing, right? To bring people together and
Favorite movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the inspiration there. So
People have accused me of trying to create a cartel or a mafia or whatever, but yeah, I'm very loyal to my family, and I joke with all the 3PLs that yes, we are one happy family, but I'm
mm,
dad, right? So we define the values, and I'll listen to everybody's perspective, but I want to make sure that we all operate honorably.
mm,
We make an honest living. We have to feed our families with every single cent that is earned honestly,
yeah.
right? And that is non-negotiable.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and I think that's great to be able to set those standards, right, and make sure that the expectation is from a customer perspective, like you said, going from one warehouse to the other is going to be the same, right? It's not going to be a different
Yeah.
experience, and they're gonna appreciate that level of quality and trust and honesty that you're establishing there as well. So very interesting. So now we talked a little bit about kind of the building up of Three Links and where Three Links is now, but what does the future of Three Links look like?
So we have 3 hubs. So there's a technology track, and then there's the physical fulfillment network track.
Okay.
Under technology, we're competing with legacy WMSs because we offer our WMS to a 3PL that is looking for that solution. We launched $1,000 a month WMS, which is based on what we're looking at, one of the cheapest WMS options out there,
Mm.
and all inclusive. So we want to really help that 3PL that's just getting started join the family, at least by getting exposed to our software. So we're helping introduce efficiencies when it comes to WMS, when it comes to integrations to sales channels, when it comes to EDI, when it comes to just actually not having tech be a bottleneck. So we're making sure that we provide the right solutions that are unified, so you don't have to join 9 different vendors into one solution with everybody pointing fingers at each other saying, well, my piece is working okay. You as a 3PL owner can deal with the customer, but my piece is fine.
Mm.
And nobody wants that. So there's a technology aspect of things. For fulfillment, we have a strategy where we have a hub and spoke model, where we operate our hubs in Pennsylvania, Dallas, and Las Vegas. They're directly certified locations, as I call them.
Mm.
The layer below that is a 3PL that could be anywhere that just needs access to a good WMS. We have no requirements of them that they need to do things exactly the 3Links way. But should you be part of the network as a spoke, you're welcome to become a certified location, but then you have to really follow the family's way. So that's not unlike going from a dating model to an engagement. You have to meet the in-laws, you have to know how they are as a family, and you have to be
Yeah.
happy with how they do things before you get certified. And we leave the door open to acquiring certified locations because that's just a low acquisition risk for us because they've already been using our tech. They're already drinking the same ethos and living the same values that we hold dear. So we give the software to 3PLs if we can be helpful. We welcome them to get certified if they want to be part of our network as a certified location. And then if they ever want to sell their 3PL, we're happy to do that as well. But
Mm.
I just think that tech and operations and values together create the right recipe. I don't want to be just giving somebody the WMS and saying good luck. I don't want to just send them an invoice. I actually want to be personally invested in their success. And if they tell us, look, I'm doing this prep work, I'd love to get into returns. It's a
Yeah.
module in the software that you can activate and suddenly unlock another revenue stream.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I like that kind of, I guess holding them and hand holding them through the journey a little bit, like you said, like getting them,
Sure.
on the tech, and then,
Sure.
Are they a good fit for the family? Bring them into the family, right? And then, they want to unlock these other streams of revenue. Well, we can do that too. And, this is how it works and things like that. So really interesting to talk to you today and learn more about 3Links and kind of the whole journey here and still what's to come. Sounds like much more to come as well, which is a great thing.
Absolutely.
And, happy to follow along, continue to see your evolution overall. But if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about 3Links, or maybe they want to become part of the family at some point, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. LinkedIn is probably the best. I'm the grumpy old guy on LinkedIn and I'm complaining about things fairly often. So finding me on LinkedIn is the best first step. I'm based in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I'm happy to host anyone who wants to come over. It's only an hour from New York City or Philly, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about making our industry better. That is at the core of what we're all about. We want to make the industry better. We want it to be collaborative and remove some of the negativity of that is sometimes come up. So we want to be there to support each other and create a big, happy family.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes. So thank you once again for joining me on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.